Fleet Admiral Wanho Kang stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Earth's Vengeance as 2,000 human ships prepared for the final battle. 10 years had passed since the sky burned. The humans who survived were no longer the same species that had once dreamed of peaceful contact with alien life. Through the view screen, Wanho could see Velthros Prime, the alien homeworld. It was a gray planet covered in massive cities and military facilities, home to 50 billion Velthari warriors and their families, the heart of the empire that had murdered Earth. "Admiral, all fleets report ready," his tactical officer announced. Commander Ji-hee Park had lost her family when Seoul burned. Like everyone else in the fleet, she had nothing left except the desire for revenge. Wanho looked at the tactical display. The largest human armada ever assembled floated in formation around him, ships built for one purpose: turning the Velthari homeworld into a tomb. "Open a channel to all vessels," Wanho ordered. "This is Admiral Kang to all human forces. 10 years ago they came to our world and called us a disease. They burned our cities and murdered our children. Today we show them what a real disease looks like." He paused, looking at the planet that would soon die. No prisoners. No mercy. No survivors. Dr. Soyeon Jung worked frantically in her laboratory aboard the research vessel Final Cure. The weapon she had spent 5 years creating was finally ready, a virus engineered specifically for Velthari biology. It would spread through their atmosphere like wildfire, killing every alien on the planet within hours. The old humanity would have called it genocide. The new humanity called it justice. "Weapon deployment system is ready," her assistant reported. "Viral payload armed and configured for atmospheric dispersal." Soyeon looked at the data on her screen. The virus was perfect. It would target Velthari genetic markers with absolute precision. Every alien on the planet would die, but any other species would be unharmed. She thought about Earth still burning in space 10 years later. 2 billion humans dead, children who never got to grow up, cities that would never be rebuilt. "Begin final countdown," she said quietly. "It's time to cure the galaxy." Captain Woojin Choi guided his strike carrier Final Dawn through the outer defenses of the Velthari fleet. Around him, alien ships the size of cities turned their weapons toward the approaching human armada. The battle for Velthros Prime had begun. The Velthari had been preparing for this moment. They knew the humans would eventually come for revenge. Their home fleet was the most powerful force in the galaxy, over 5,000 ships arranged in perfect, defensive formations. But they were fighting the old war, against an enemy that no longer existed. Human ships didn't form battle lines or try to match firepower with the massive alien vessels. Instead, they swarmed like insects, attacking from all directions at once. Ships designed to kamikaze into enemy hulls, exploding with enough force to crack open even the largest Velthari dreadnoughts. "This is Final Dawn to all strike groups," Woojin broadcast. "Remember, we're not trying to win this battle. We're trying to die in the right place at the right time." His ship shook as alien plasma beams found their target. Final Dawn was dying, but it was dying on course toward the planet's surface. Admiral Mi Yan-an commanded the battle groups engaging the Velthari home fleet. Her ships were outnumbered 3-1, fighting an enemy with superior technology and overwhelming firepower. Under normal circumstances, it would have been suicide. But these weren't normal circumstances. These were humans who had watched their world burn and spent 10 years learning how to make others burn in return. "All ships pattern Omega," Mion ordered. "Maximum aggression. Die fighting." Human vessels ignored their own survival, ramming into alien ships or detonating their reactors at point-blank range. For every human ship destroyed, 2 or 3 Velthari vessels died with them. The aliens had never faced an enemy that was willing to die to win. They had conquered 17 worlds, but all their previous victims had tried to survive. Humans had learned that sometimes, survival was less important than making sure your enemy didn't survive, either. Warprime Kethvar watched the battle from his command station orbiting Velthros Prime. The humans were fighting like a plague, spreading destruction wherever they touched. Their tactics made no sense by civilized standards. "Sir, we're losing ships faster than projected," his tactical officer reported. "The humans are using suicide attacks. They're not trying to preserve their forces." Kethvar studied the battle display. Human ships were dying by the hundreds, but they were taking Velthari vessels with them. More disturbing, human forces were breaking through the defensive perimeter. "How many humans are left in the galaxy?" he asked. "Estimates suggest no more than 50 million, Warprime." 50 million humans left out of 11 billion. By any measure, the campaign had been a success. The disease species was almost extinct. So why did Kethvar feel like he was losing? Commander Taehoon Lim led the boarding assault on the Velthari command station. His Marines moved through corridors filled with alien defenders, fighting room by room toward the command center. These weren't the explorers and scientists who had first met the Velthari. These were humans shaped by 10 years of war into perfect killers. The aliens fought bravely, but they were fighting for conquest and glory. The humans were fighting for the ghosts of Earth. War Prime located, Taehoon reported into his radio. Level 7 command section. Moving to engage. He kicked down the doors to the command center and saw the alien leader who had ordered his world's destruction. Kethvar was massive, 9 feet tall with forearms and teeth like knives. A perfect predator. But humans had become something more perfect. Major Sang-hyun Yoon reached the planet's surface with the first wave of atmospheric bombers. His mission was simple. Deploy Dr. Young's virus across every major population center on Velthros Prime. Below him, alien cities stretched to the horizon. Billions of Velthari going about their daily lives, unaware that their entire species was about to die. Sang-hyun thought about Seoul, melted to glass and ash. He thought about the children who died screaming when the sky burned. He thought about his own daughter, who would never grow up because aliens had decided humans were a disease. Deploying viral payload, he reported. Beginning atmospheric saturation. The virus spread invisibly through the air, carried by wind currents across the planet. Within hours, every Velthari on the world would be dead. General Cheong-su received the final communication from War Prime Kethvar as Velthros Prime began to die. The alien leader appeared on screen from his damaged command station, his perfect features showing something humans had never seen before: fear. We offer complete withdrawal from human space, Kethvar said desperately. Full reparations for your losses. Peace between our species. Cheong looked at the alien who had called her people a disease, who had ordered the murder of 2 billion humans, who had hunted the survivors across the galaxy for 10 years. You fired first and burned our world, she said quietly. You made us into what we are now. There will be no negotiation, no mercy, no survivors. She cut the transmission and watched on her tactical display as the Velthari homeworld died. City after city went dark as the virus spread. The most powerful military force in the galaxy was dissolving into chaos as their entire species faced extinction. Captain Yejin Moon piloted her reconnaissance ship, new beginning through the wreckage above Velthros Prime. The battle was over. The Velthari home fleet was destroyed. The planet below was silent and dark. 50 billion aliens were dead. The Velthari hegemony, which had conquered 17 worlds and murdered trillions of beings, no longer existed. This is new beginning to Fleet Command, Yejin reported. Velthros Prime is sterile, no life signs detected. The Velthari species has been eliminated. She looked at her instruments, scanning the dead world. It looked like Earth must have looked after the aliens finished with it. Gray and lifeless, covered in the ruins of a civilization that would never rise again. Admiral Sungjin Park received reports from across Velthari space. Every alien colony, every military base, every outpost was under attack by human forces and rebellious alien species. The empire that had seemed unstoppable was collapsing in days. Sir, we're getting communications from the Andorian sector, his intelligence officer reported. 3 different species are requesting human military assistance against remaining Velthari holdouts. Sungjin studied the tactical reports. The galaxy was full of species that wanted to be friends with humanity, now that they had proven themselves to be apex predators. What are your orders, sir? Sungjin thought about the humans who had died to reach this moment. Earth cities full of children. Refugee ships hunted through space. Survivors who had spent 10 years hiding in the dark. Send word to all human forces, he said finally. The Velthari are extinct, but the galaxy is still full of predators. We know what happens when someone attacks humanity's home. He looked at the star charts showing dozens of aggressive alien civilizations in distant systems. Prepare the fleets. Let the galaxy know what happens when you make humans angry. The last human survivor looked up at the alien sky of New Terra, the colony world that had become humanity's new home. 50 million humans were all that remained of a species that had once numbered 11 billion. Commander Sunwoo Kim watched the first human warship leave the Forge of Defiance shipyard. The vessel looked nothing like the exploration ships humanity used to build. This was pure weapon, black metal shaped like a knife. No windows, no comfortable quarters, no space for anything except engines, weapons, and the crew needed to operate them. 5 years had passed since Earth burned. The humans emerging from their hidden bases were not the same species that had once reached for the stars with open hands and peaceful hearts. These humans had learned a new language, and that language was violence. Launch sequence complete. Engineer Hanali reported from the control room. All systems operational. The Retribution is ready for combat, Sunwoo nodded. The Retribution was the first of a new kind of ship. Fast enough to catch Velthari vessels. Tough enough to survive their weapons and armed with technology that would have horrified the old humanity. But the old humanity was dead, burned away with Earth cities. Signal the fleet, Sunwoo ordered. Operation Blood Dawn is approved. Begin the hunt. Dr. Haeun Park stood in her laboratory aboard the research vessel Hidden Truth. Around her, biological samples from captured Velthari floated in containment fields. She had spent 3 years turning human medicine into human weapons. The breakthrough had come 6 months ago. The Velthari immune system was perfect, designed to fight off any natural disease. But Haeun's weapon wasn't natural. It was engineered specifically to turn their own immune systems against them. Computer, begin final testing sequence on sample batch 7, she said. On the screen, Velthari cells met her bioweapon. Within minutes, the alien tissue began to dissolve as their enhanced immune system attacked their own bodies. Haeun felt no satisfaction watching the alien cells die. She had become something her younger self wouldn't recognize. Before the war, she had dedicated her life to healing. Now she was the galaxy's most dangerous disease maker. But when someone burned your world and murdered your family, healing became a luxury you couldn't afford. Admiral In-Ho Lee studied the tactical display in his command center. The old rules of warfare meant nothing now. Honor, mercy, protecting civilians. Those were concepts from humanity's peaceful past. The new rules were simple. Kill as many aliens as possible while losing as few humans as possible. Admiral, the Ghost Division reports successful infiltration of the Rigel supply depot. His intelligence officer announced. They're ready to plant the charges. In-Ho looked at the target analysis. The depot supplied fuel and weapons to 12 Velthari fleets. Destroying it would cripple alien operations across 4 star systems. It would also kill the 3,000 alien workers and guards stationed there. The old humanity would have hesitated. They would have tried to find a way to destroy the depot without casualties. They would have broadcast warnings, offered surrender terms, shown mercy to their enemies. The new humanity had learned better. Give them the green light, In-Ho ordered. No survivors. Captain Jisoo Nam led the assault fleet toward Proxima Centauri. 50 human warships moved in perfect formation through space. Each ship carried weapons designed for one purpose, turning Velthari vessels into expanding clouds of gas and metal. The alien supply depot had no warning. Their sensors were designed to detect large fleets moving through normal space. The human ships used new stealth technology, moving like ghosts between the stars. Jisoo remembered the first time she had seen a Velthari ship 5 years ago. She had been terrified by their size and power. Now she looked at the enemy depot and felt only cold calculation. All ships, this is Knife Leader, she broadcast to her fleet. Remember the new doctrine. We are not here to capture territory or take prisoners. We are here to kill aliens and break their things. The attack began at exactly 0300 hours. Human ships swarmed the depot like angry insects, firing from all directions at once. The aliens had never faced this kind of assault before. Their training was designed for fighting other advanced civilizations in organized fleet battles. Humans didn't fight like civilized beings anymore. They fought like a disease, spreading chaos and death wherever they touched. Lieutenant Donghyun Seo coordinated with resistance cells on occupied worlds. His job was to find alien weaknesses and turn other species against the Velthari. What he discovered gave humanity unexpected allies. The galaxy was full of beings who hated their Velthari overlords. Species that had been conquered, enslaved, or had their world stripped for resources. They had never fought back because they were weak individually. But weakness became strength when properly organized. This is Phoenix Base calling all resistance cells. Donghyun broadcast on an encrypted channel. We have new weapons and tactical data available for immediate distribution. The response came from 17 different star systems. Species that had been crushed under Velthari boots were ready to fight back if someone showed them how. Donghyun smiled grimly. Humans had learned many things in 5 years of war. One of the most important lessons was that enemies of your enemies made excellent weapons. Colonel Yerim led her strike team through the corridors of the Velthari breeding facility on Kepler 186F. This was the kind of mission that would have been impossible for the old humanity. Not because of the technical difficulty, but because of what they were here to do. The facility contained thousands of Velthari eggs and young. Under the old rules of war, children were protected. Under the new rules, Velthari children would grow up to murder human children. Charges placed, Sergeant Minjae Kang reported. Building is ready for demolition. Yerim looked through the windows at the nursery levels below. Young Velthari moved in their artificial environments, being trained for conquest and killing. In 10 years, they would be soldiers hunting down human survivors, unless they died today. Detonate, Yerim ordered. The explosion was visible from orbit. 20,000 future Velthari warriors became atoms and energy in less than a second. Yerim felt nothing as she watched. The old humanity would have called her a monster for killing children. But the old humanity had been soft and weak and dead. The new humanity understood that some children grew up to be predators. Better to kill monsters while they were small. The war was changing. For 5 years, humans had run and hidden while the Velthari hunted them with patience and overwhelming force. Now the dynamic was shifting. Human ships appeared without warning to destroy alien facilities. Resistance movements erupted on conquered worlds. Supply convoys disappeared. Communication networks went dark. Breeding facilities exploded. The Velthari were learning what it felt like to be prey. War Prime Kethvar received the reports in his command ship above the Vega system. 17 supply depots destroyed in the past month. 6 breeding facilities attacked. 43 patrol ships missing. Most disturbing of all, 3 worlds had risen in revolt, with local species using human weapons and tactics. How many humans are left? He asked his intelligence officers. Estimates range from 50 to 100 million, came the reply. But they are no longer hiding. They have become aggressive. Kethvar studied the tactical displays. Red marks showed where human attacks had occurred. The pattern was clear. The disease species was spreading again, infecting other worlds with rebellion and violence. Increase the hunt, he ordered. Deploy additional fleets. Find their main bases and burn them all. But as he spoke, Kethvar felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of conquest. For the first time since the campaign began, he was not sure of victory. Captain Jisoo Nam returned from the Proxima Centauri raid with news that changed everything. Her intelligence officer had interrogated captured alien communications before the depot was destroyed. Admiral, we've located something important, she reported to command. The aliens have a central coordination facility, a space station where they plan all their operations across this sector. Admiral In-ho Lee studied the intelligence data. The station was massive, heavily defended and located deep in enemy territory. Attacking it would be almost impossible. Almost. What's the strategic value? He asked. Everything, Jisoo replied. Fleet movements, supply schedules, breeding facility locations. But more than that, it's where War Prime Kethvar coordinates the hunt for human survivors. The room went quiet. Every human commander knew that name. Kethvar was the alien leader who had personally ordered Earth's destruction. He was the architect of humanity's genocide. In-ho looked at his tactical staff. Begin planning for Operation Final Dawn. Target, War Prime Kethvar and his command facility. Sir, his aide said carefully, the casualties will be enormous. We could lose half our fleet. In-ho nodded. The old humanity would have calculated the cost and looked for a safer option. They would have tried negotiation or waited for a better opportunity. But the new humanity had different priorities. They didn't care about survival anymore. They cared about revenge. Send word to all human forces, In-ho ordered. We found the monster who burned our world. Now we're going to kill him. The message spread through the hidden human network within hours. In secret bases and hidden fleets across the galaxy, humans began preparing for the most dangerous mission in their species' history. They were going hunting for the alien who had taught them how to hate. Fleet Admiral Junho Han stood in the hidden shipyard deep in the Kuiper Belt. 2 years had passed since Earth burned. The facility called Forge of Defiance had been a small mining station before the war. Now it was humanity's secret heart, carved into an asteroid the size of a city. Around him, the sounds of construction never stopped. Hammering, welding, the hiss of plasma cutters. Humans worked in shifts around the clock, building something the galaxy had never seen before. These weren't exploration ships or cargo haulers. These were weapons designed for one purpose: killing aliens. "Admiral, the first batch is ready for testing," Engineer Borum Kim reported. She looked tired. Everyone looked tired these days. Sleep was a luxury when your species was going extinct. Junho walked to the observation window. In the construction bay below, sleek black ships waited in neat rows. They were smaller than Velthari vessels, but packed with everything humanity had learned about violence in the past 2 years. "How many survivors do we have left?" Junho asked. "Latest count is 147 million, Borum said quietly. "We lost another colony ship last week. The aliens found the settlement on Kepler 442b. Junho nodded. Every month brought news of another human outpost discovered and destroyed. The Velthari were patient hunters. They would spend decades tracking down every hiding place if necessary. But patience worked both ways. Major Yunbi. Choi crouched in the ruins of what used to be a city on Proxima Centauri b. The human colony here had been home to 50,000 people. Now it was just melted buildings and glass craters. The Velthari had been thorough in their cleansing, but they had also been careless. Yunbi led the Ghost Division, special forces trained to operate in dead worlds. Her team moved through the wreckage like shadows, collecting intelligence and looking for any advantage they could find. "Target acquired," whispered Corporal Deho Park through her earpiece. He was positioned on a rooftop overlooking the alien patrol. 3 Velthari soldiers walked through the ruins, scanning for any human survivors to kill. They moved with confidence, sure that nothing on this dead world could threaten them. They were wrong. Yunbi's team struck from 3 directions at once. Silent weapons, close combat, and complete surprise. The aliens were dead before they realized they were under attack. "Search them," Yunbi ordered. "Take everything. Weapons, equipment, biological samples. This was the Ghost Division's mission. Learn the enemy. Find their weaknesses. Make them pay for their overconfidence." One of the dead aliens was still breathing. Yunbi knelt beside it and spoke in the few words of Velthari language she had learned. "Why do you kill us?" The alien looked at her with dying eyes. "You are disease, must be cleansed." "We're not a disease," Yunbi said. "We're a cure." Dr. Kyung Jae Woo worked in the hidden research complex carved into asteroid NX-7742. His laboratory was filled with alien body parts, captured weapons, and biological samples brought back by teams like Yunbi's Ghost Division. For 2 years, he had been studying Velthari biology. What he discovered gave him nightmares and hope in equal measure. The aliens had engineered themselves for perfection. Enhanced muscles, armored skin, superior reflexes, and immunity to most diseases. They were living weapons bred for conquest and killing. But perfection came with a price. "Computer, display genetic analysis file 77 alpha, Kyungjae said. The screen showed a complex DNA sequence. Every Velthari in the galaxy shared almost identical genetic code. They had removed all weakness from their species, but they had also removed all diversity. Kyungjae smiled for the first time in months. Genetic uniformity meant uniform vulnerability. If he could find the right weapon, one that targeted their specific genetic markers, it would work on every single alien in their empire. He opened a new file and began designing humanity's revenge. Captain Mina Jang piloted her stealth frigate, Shadow Strike, through the outer edge of the Vega system. The ship was painted black and covered with sensors that absorbed electromagnetic radiation. To alien scanners, it was almost invisible. Her mission was reconnaissance deep in enemy territory. For 6 months, she had been mapping Velthari supply routes and military positions. What she found changed everything she thought she knew about the war. "Navigation, set course for grid reference 779, she ordered. "I want a closer look at that debris field." The debris field was huge, scattered across millions of kilometers of space. But these weren't human ships. The wreckage belonged to another species entirely, something with technology even more advanced than the Velthari. Mina studied the tactical reports. The aliens weren't the unopposed masters of the galaxy they pretended to be. Someone else had fought them and won. "Captain, we're picking up a transmission from the debris field," her communications officer reported. It's not Velthari. The signal was weak and badly damaged, but the computers managed to clean it up." What came through the speakers made Mina's heart race. It was a distress beacon, still broadcasting after who knew how many years. The language was alien, but the meaning was clear. This was a species that had fought the Velthari and survived long enough to tell others about it. Humanity wasn't alone in this war. General Taiyang Bek stood before the Council of Surviving Human Leaders. They met in a hidden base carved into a moon orbiting a dead star. Representatives from every colony, every fleet, every settlement still alive. The news from the past 2 years was grim. The Velthari had found and destroyed 37 human outposts. Colony ships disappeared in deep space. Research stations went silent. Mining facilities were reduced to radioactive dust. But there was other news too. The Ghost Division had brought back alien technology. Dr. Wu had found genetic weaknesses. Captain Zhang had discovered evidence of other resistance movements. We have a choice, Taiyang said to the assembled leaders. We can keep running and hiding, hoping the aliens get bored and leave us alone. Or we can fight back. Admiral Sarah Chen from the Jupiter colonies shook her head. Fight back with what? They have thousands of ships. We have maybe 100 combat vessels. They have thousands of identical ships, Taiyang corrected. Ships built to the same specifications with the same weaknesses. Crewed by soldiers with identical genetics and identical training. He activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked Velthari positions. Blue dots showed human settlements. For 2 years we've been reacting to their moves. Running from their hunters. Hiding from their fleets. But we've also been learning. We know their patrol routes. We know their supply lines. We know their biology. The room was quiet. Everyone understood what he was proposing. If we keep running, we die slowly over the next 50 years, Taiyang continued. If we fight back and lose, we die quickly. But if we fight back and win... He paused, looking at each face in the room. We become the hunters instead of the hunted. Colonel Jin Huan. O managed the logistics from a hidden base in the asteroid belt. His job was impossible. Coordinate the movements of 147 million humans scattered across 100 star systems while staying hidden from the most advanced military in the galaxy. But humans were good at impossible things when their survival depended on it. Sir, we're getting reports from deep space observation posts, his aide reported. The aliens are changing their search patterns. They're becoming more systematic. Jinhuan studied the intelligence reports. The Velthari were learning too. They had realized that humans were better at hiding than expected. Now they were adapting their tactics. How long until they find all our major bases? He asked. Computer estimates 18 months, sir. 18 months. That was the deadline. After that, humanity would have nowhere left to hide. Jinhuan opened a communication channel to General Beck's council. This is Colonel O with strategic update. Recommend immediate implementation of the Vengeance Protocol. We're out of time for preparation. The transmission went out across the hidden human network. In research labs, weapons factories, and military bases scattered across the galaxy. The response was the same. It was time to stop being prey. Dr. Kyungji Woo received the authorization codes in his laboratory. His bioweapon was ready. The genetic targeting virus that could kill every Velthari in the galaxy. Major Yunbi Choi got the message while training new Ghost Division recruits. Her teams were ready to strike at the heart of alien territory. Fleet Admiral Jun Ho Han stood in the Forge of Defiance, looking at his fleet of purpose-built warships. They were ready for their first combat mission. Across human space, the word spread quietly from base to base, ship to ship, survivor to survivor. The long dark was ending. The hunt was about to begin, and this time humans would be the predators. Lieutenant Hunisong crawled through the broken subway tunnels beneath what used to be Seoul. 3 months had passed since the sky burned. The city above was gone, melted into twisted metal and glass. But deep underground, people still lived. The air tasted wrong. Every breath burned her lungs like acid. The Velthari had dropped something into Earth's atmosphere. Poison that killed slowly. The doctor said people had maybe 6 months before their lungs dissolved completely. This is Phoenix Team, Huna whispered into her radio. We found another group. 43 survivors in Bunker 7 Alpha. The voice that answered was tired and broken. Colonel Sungmin Yu had been coordinating rescue operations from a hidden base on Mars. Every day brought worse news. Every day fewer people answered the radio calls. Copy that, Phoenix Team. Transport ships are 20 minutes out. Get them to surface level. Yuna looked at the survivors huddled in the dark. Children with hollow eyes. Adults who jumped at every sound. These people had watched their world die. Now they were dying too, one poisoned breath at a time. "We're getting you out of here," she told them. "Ships are coming. You're going to be safe." A little girl tugged on Huna's uniform. "Where are we going?" Hyuna didn't know how to answer. Where could humans go when the whole galaxy wanted them dead? Colonel Sungmin Yu stood in the command center on Mars, watching the largest evacuation in human history. On his screens, hundreds of ships moved between Earth and the outer colonies. Cargo haulers, mining vessels, pleasure craft, anything that could carry people. Most had never been designed for passengers. The numbers were heartbreaking. Earth had 11 billion people before the attack. Now they were trying to save 200 million survivors. It wasn't enough ships. It wasn't enough time. "Sir, we're getting reports of Velthari hunter squadrons near Jupiter," his aide reported. "They're targeting our evacuation routes." Sungmin watched red dots appear on his tactical display. Alien ships were moving to intercept the refugee vessels. The evacuation convoy had no weapons, no armor, no way to fight back. "Send everything we have," he ordered. "Every military ship, every armed transport. Cover the evacuation." But Sungmin knew it was hopeless. Earth's remaining military could barely scratch the alien ships. They were sending fighters to die so civilians might escape. Dr. Nari Kwan worked in her hidden laboratory on Europa. She had been studying pieces of destroyed Velthari ships, trying to understand their technology. What she found made her sick with fear. The aliens weren't just conquerors. They were farmers. Every world the Velthari attacked became something else. They would kill all the native life, then change the planet's atmosphere and environment. Within a few years, the dead world would become a breeding ground for more Velthari warriors. Nari had found evidence of 17 worlds that suffered this fate. Billions of beings from different species, all dead. All their worlds turned into alien nurseries. "They're not trying to rule us," she whispered to herself. "They're trying to replace us." Her computer showed projections of what Earth would look like in 5 years. No blue oceans or green forests. Just gray cities full of alien soldiers preparing for the next war of extermination. Captain Jaewon Lim guided his ship Last Hope through the asteroid belt. His cargo hold was packed with 50,000 refugees from Earth. Families, children, elderly people who had lost everything. They looked at him with hope, trusting him to keep them safe. Behind him, the Velthari hunter ships were getting closer. Last Hope was a cargo hauler, built for carrying mining equipment. It was slow and had no weapons. The alien ships were fast and built for killing. Jaewon knew he couldn't outrun them forever. "Sir, the children are asking when they can go home," his first officer said. Jaewon looked at the tactical display. Earth was behind them, still burning. There was no home to return to. "Tell them we're looking for a new home," he said. "Tell them it's going to be better than the old one." It was a lie, but sometimes lies were kinder than truth. The first hunter ship caught up with a refugee convoy near Saturn. Captain Minji Park was leading 12 cargo ships full of survivors when the aliens appeared. Her ship Bright Dawn had been a luxury liner before the war. Now it carried 3,000 people in spaces meant for 300. "This is Bright Dawn to all ships," she broadcast. "Scatter formation. Make them chase us one at a time." The Velthari ship fired once. Bright Dawn and 3,000 people disappeared in a flash of light. The other refugee ships scattered, but the aliens hunted them down like wolves chasing sheep. By the time the slaughter ended, 80 million more humans were dead. Engineer Yuna Shin monitored the deep space communications from her mining platform New Horizon. The platform was hidden in the Kuiper Belt, far from Earth and the main evacuation routes. She listened to the radio chatter as refugee ships died one by one. Then she intercepted something that made her blood freeze. It was a Velthari strategic communication, translated by the computers. War Prime Kethvar was speaking to his fleet commanders about the next phase of their plan. "The human nest world burns well," the alien leader said, "but disease spreads. We have detected human colonies in 47 star systems. Each colony must be cleansed. Each survivor must be hunted. This campaign will take 50 years, but we will be thorough. No human will survive to infect the galaxy again." Yuna realized the horrible truth. Earth was just the beginning. The aliens had mapped every human settlement in known space. Mining colonies, research stations, trading posts, exploration vessels. They were going to hunt down and kill every single human in the galaxy. She sent the recording to every human commander she could reach. Within hours, it spread through the refugee fleets and hidden bases. Colonel Sung-Min Yu received the message while coordinating the evacuation of Luna Colony. He listened to the alien broadcast 3 times, then sat down heavily in his chair. His aide looked at him with worried eyes. "Sir, what are our orders?" Sung-Min looked at the status reports flooding his screen. 200 million humans scattered across dozens of ships and hidden bases. The Velthari had thousands of ships and unlimited time. It would take decades, but the aliens would eventually find every human hiding place. "Change of plans," Sung-Min said quietly. "We're not just evacuating Earth anymore. We're evacuating humanity itself." He opened a channel to every human commander in space. "This is Colonel Yu with new operational parameters. The aliens plan to hunt us for 50 years. They think they can kill us all if they're patient enough. But they made one mistake." He paused, looking at the faces of his surviving officers. "They left us alive long enough to get angry." Dr. Narration was still working in her laboratory when the evacuation order came. She had been developing weapons based on alien technology, trying to find some weakness in their defenses. The work was hopeless. Human science was centuries behind Velthari technology. But as she packed her research, Nari realized something important. The aliens were perfect. Their ships were perfect. Their weapons were perfect. Their soldiers were perfect. Perfect things had perfect weaknesses. Lieutenant Huna Song stood on the observation deck of the transport ship Safe Harbor, watching Earth disappear behind them. The planet still burned, wreathed in clouds of poison and smoke. 2 billion graves floating in space. Around her, refugees wept for their lost home. Children asked when they could go back. Parents tried to comfort them with lies about finding a better place. Yuna didn't cry. She was too angry for tears. The aliens thought they had won. They thought humans would run and hide and slowly die in the dark corners of space. They were wrong. Humans were good at many things. They were good at building and exploring and creating beautiful art. They were good at love and hope and dreams of peace. But when someone hurt their children, humans became very good at other things. The refugee ships scattered into the dark between stars, carrying the last survivors of Earth. Behind them, the Velthari began the long hunt. Ahead of them lay 50 years of running and hiding, unless humanity learned to stop running and start hunting back. Commander Ji-won Kim stared at the screens in front of her. The orbital defense station HFY floated quietly in space, watching over Earth like a guardian angel. For 3 years, Ji-won had worked the night shift, monitoring deep space signals. Nothing ever happened. The most exciting thing was usually a solar storm or space junk that needed tracking. Tonight felt different. The long-range sensors picked up something strange at the edge of the solar system. Ji-won frowned and adjusted the controls. The reading showed massive objects moving toward Earth. Too big to be asteroids. Too organized to be natural. "This is HFY calling Fleet Command." Ji-won spoke into her headset. "We have unknown contacts approaching from deep space. Request immediate analysis." The voice that answered sounded tired. "Copy that, HFY, probably just another ice comet. Send us the data." But Ji-won knew comets. These objects moved in perfect formation. They slowed down and sped up together like ships in a fleet. Her hands shook as she counted them on the screen. 50, 100, 200. More kept appearing. Captain Minho Park received the emergency call while eating breakfast aboard the UN Defiance. His ship was one of Earth's newest exploration vessels, built for peaceful contact with alien life. For decades, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe.
Minho had dreamed of being the first to shake hands with an alien ambassador. "Sir, we're picking up massive energy signatures," his communications officer reported.
300 objects, definitely artificial. They're not responding to our standard greeting protocols. Minho rushed to the bridge. Through the view screen, he could see them now. Enormous ships with dark hulls that seemed to absorb light. They moved like predators, slow and confident, beautiful and terrifying. "Open all channels," Minho ordered. "This is Captain Minho Park of the United Earth Navy, speaking for all humanity. Welcome to our solar system. We come in peace and friendship." The response came immediately. Not words, but weapons. Brilliant beams of plasma erupted from the alien fleet. The first target was Luna Base, humanity's largest research facility on the moon. Minho watched in horror as half the base simply vanished in a ball of white fire. Where thousands of scientists had been working moments before, Now only molten rock remained. Red alert, Minho shouted. All ships defensive positions. But Earth ships were explorers and cargo haulers, not warships. The few military vessels they had were tiny compared to the alien monsters bearing down on them. Admiral Soman Lee stood on the bridge of the flagship Indomitable, Earth's most powerful ship. Even she knew it was hopeless. The aliens had over 300 vessels. Earth had 12 ships that could fight, and none of them were built for war. Ma'am, incoming transmission from the alien fleet, her communications officer announced. The main screen filled with the image of a creature that made Soman's blood run cold. It stood 9 feet tall with gray skin like armor plating, 4 arms ending in clawed hands, eyes like black holes that seemed to look right through her. I am Warprime Kethvar of the Velthari hegemony. The creature spoke in perfect English. Your species is a disease. We have come to cure the galaxy of your infection. You have 1 hour to surrender completely or face total extermination. We can negotiate, Soman said, trying to keep her voice steady. There's no need for violence. We can share space. We can be allies. The alien's mouth opened, showing rows of sharp teeth. Disease cannot be negotiated with. It can only be burned away. The transmission ended. Exactly 1 hour later, the real attack began. Daehyun Cho was working in his laboratory on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, when the emergency signals started flooding in. As Earth's leading expert on theoretical alien biology, he had spent years preparing for first contact. He had imagined peaceful meetings, cultural exchanges, shared scientific discoveries. The reality was a nightmare. His screens showed Earth from orbit. The planet that had been blue and green and white was turning orange and red. Cities disappeared in flashes of light. The aliens used weapons that didn't just destroy buildings. They melted everything down to the bedrock. Dear God, Daehyun whispered as he watched New Tokyo vanish. 10 million people lived there. Now it was just a glowing crater. His computers intercepted alien communication signals. Daehyun worked frantically to translate them. What he learned made him sick. The Velthari didn't see humans as people. To them, humans were germs that needed to be sterilized. They had done this before to 17 other worlds. Neo-Berlin disappeared next. Then Greater London. Each city became a bowl of melted glass and ash. The aliens were methodical, working their way across the planet like exterminators spraying for insects. Captain Minho Park tried to ram his ship into the nearest alien vessel. The Defiance was fast but small. The alien ship was massive but slow. For a moment, Minho thought he might succeed. The plasma beam that hit his ship turned it into vapor in less than a second. Admiral Soman Lee coordinated the desperate defense from the Indomitable. Earth's ships darted between the alien giants like gnats attacking elephants. They managed to damage a few enemy vessels, but it was like throwing rocks at tanks. Ma'am, we're receiving evacuation requests from every major city, her tactical officer reported. The orbital bombardment is creating firestorms. The atmosphere itself is starting to burn. Soman looked at her tactical display. Red dots showed where Earth's cities used to be. Each dot represented millions of dead. In 6 hours, the aliens had murdered half of humanity. All ships knew orders, she broadcast to the remaining fleet. Forget the attack. Save who you can. Get them to the orbital stations and off-world colonies. It was surrender, but not the kind the aliens wanted. Soman wouldn't give them the satisfaction of a formal capitulation. Commander Ji-won Kim watched from Aegis Prime as Earth died below her. The continents were hidden under clouds of smoke and fire. The oceans boiled where plasma beams struck them. 2 billion people were dead and the killing wasn't stopping. The aliens had brought special ships for the final phase. These vessels sprayed something into Earth's atmosphere. Within hours, the air itself became poison. Anyone still breathing on the surface would die slowly, choking on toxic gas. Why? Ji-won asked the empty space around her. Why do this to us? She got her answer when she intercepted another alien transmission. Warprime Kethvar was speaking to his fleet commanders. Excellent work. Phase 1 is complete. Begin atmospheric processing immediately. In 6 months, this world will be ready for our breeding colonies. The disease species called humans has been eliminated from their home nest. Now we hunt down the scattered survivors and complete the cleansing. Ji-won realized with growing horror that Earth's destruction was just the beginning. The aliens planned to hunt down every human in the galaxy. They wouldn't stop until the last human was dead. As night fell over the burning Earth, survivors huddled in underground bunkers and off-world colonies. They had learned a terrible lesson about the universe. It was not a place of wonder and friendship. It was a place where the strong ate the weak and the weak died screaming. The Velthari had fired first. They had burned Earth to ash and glass, but in their arrogance they had made one critical mistake. They had left witnesses alive.